just for those people who don't know, give us, if you can, a brief potted history of how we got to the point where we are now, which is this weekend on the 30th of October. Drivers will be walking out on strike from 0300 or on Saturday morning. What's the story? How did we get here?
Well, how long have you got? I think so basically pay negotiations have been going on since June. Now, obviously, a lot's happened since then. So they came after our pensions in the summer. And you'll know this because obviously you were a great support, and I thank you for the support you gave me with tabling that members' motion. And Unite chose not to fight that. Now, that was a big thing. I mean, I was in the pension scheme myself, but there were loads of drivers that were, and it's quite an attractive pension scheme. You know, drivers put £50 a week in, which is a lot of money, but the company were matching that. So, you know, it's like £400 a month into savings, essentially. Now, that rug was pulled from underneath our members, and the union chose not to fight that. Now, I got the impression at the time that was because they were expecting some sort of favour when it came to, you know, much deeper negotiations with regard to the wage rise. Now, I don't need to tell you this, Jason, because you're a seasoned trade unionist, but if you give these people an inch, you know, won't even take a mile, and that's what's happened. So they took our pensions with basically, you know, no kind of noise from Unite, apart from you know, various disgruntled members, and obviously the motion that I put forward to the executive, and it basically went ahead. We got some concessions with that. There's like a few different options with regards like payouts and stuff like that, and we actually managed to get members kind of independent legal advice. But that kind of bubbled, that's left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And a lot of people think we should have balloted for the pensions as well. I agree with that. I think we should have. Now, as I say, that, you know, any favours that Unite were expecting to get, they didn't get. They offered us 1.5%, a 1-year deal, 1.5% for the first 6 months, and then a 0.3% increase for the second half. Now, I mean, a 1.8% pay rise, not really, I don't think, acceptable, and that was rejected. There's over 1,100 drivers rejected that offer, which again is pretty unanimous, and that was before the ballot to, you know, in favour of industrial action. So essentially, and obviously, like with most workers, you know, who have worked through COVID, and they've been, I mean, like I was suspended at the start of COVID for basically saying, you know, for basically saying what was going on was wrong. You know, drivers bring in their own PPE, and sadly, you know, this is an industry thing, and also I think what's spurred a lot of members on now is before all this anyway, before, you know, the pay dispute and stuff. I mean, there's been buses parked up. I mean, if anyone's a passenger, you'll have noticed that your buses haven't been turning up, and that's simply because a lot of drivers are leaving the industry. I've never seen. I mean, even though I'm quite young, I've worked in a fair few. You know, I've worked in hospitality and retail, which tend to have quite high turnover of staff.
Yeah.
But in the last year, I mean, I've seen, you know, drivers. I mean, people who actually used to take me to school, who are leaving the profession just like that. That's down to a lot of things, partly in to do with the lorry driver shortage. So a lot of people obviously kind of voting with their feet, as it were, for better terms, conditions, and pay. But a large part of it is in fact due to the terms, conditions, and the kind of the job itself. You know, I mean, if you imagine driving, I mean, you know, well, you know yourself, if you drove from here to Scotland from where you are, let's say that take, I don't know, 8 hours. I mean, we're driving for 8 hours a day. A lot of drivers over the last couple of months have been driving for 10 hours a day, which is the maximum, by virtue of driver shortage. And, you know, if anyone's ever done a long drive to Scotland or something, and 8-hour drive, you are exhausted. But trust me, you're no more mentally exhausted than when you've got off a bus after carrying 50, 60, maybe 80 people. I mean, I had 90 people on my bus the other day. So there is an untold stress with that. And we've seen drivers sadly pass away through COVID and not COVID. So the job, I mean, I'm not really selling the job to you, am I, Jason? But
not at all. No.
So this is kind of how we've got here, and it's a failure of. It's a failure of deregulation. Really, that's the bottom line of it. This is the backside coming out of the 1980s disaster. But it's also, I think, a failure of I'm sorry to say, but of the trade union movement of the last 10, 15, 20 years. The companies, these transport operators and big employers think that Unite now, obviously it's under I think it's under much steady leadership now. I think you'll agree with Sharon Graham. Yeah. But this is how we've got here, because they've accepted mediocre, low, below par pay offers and taking them. So, and then obviously, Arriva and other companies are coming back every year going, oh, would you like 1.4%, 1.5%? And it's, oh, okay, yeah, we'll have that. So this is why, and this is why we've got here, because now Unite is saying, no, actually, we're not going to stand for that. And the members, as elaborated on before, that the members are with them there.